You're not angry, you're just reacting. Imagine this. You're in a meeting, someone cuts you off in traffic, or your partner forgets your birthday. In that moment, you feel a surge of frustration, and before you know it, you're yelling or storming off. But what if I told you that anger isn't an emotion, it's a habit, a learned response that your brain has conditioned you to have? It's not about the situation, it's about how you're wired to react. Your brain, especially the amygdala, is wired to protect you from perceived threats, even if those threats are tiny and irrelevant. Over time, this reaction becomes automatic, like a reflex. But here's the good news. Your brain is also incredibly adaptable. It can rewire itself. By understanding the root of your anger and replacing reactive patterns with mindful choices, you can unlearn this habit. Anger isn't your enemy, it's just a signal. The question is, are you ready to listen? Have you ever wondered why you get so angry at things that don't even matter? Our brains are like old, overworked alarm systems. The amygdala, that little red flag in your brain, is your instant reaction button. It's like the fight or flight alarm that goes off when something feels threatening, even if it's just someone's tone or a delayed text. It's wired to protect you, but sometimes it mistakes a harmless situation for a real threat. The amygdala doesn't care about logic or context. It just wants to react. But here's the catch. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's like your wise old friend, is supposed to step in and say, wait a minute, that's not actually a threat. It's the part that plans, thinks, and judges. But when you're overwhelmed or stressed, this part can get sidelined, like a busy parent trying to manage a screaming toddler. The amygdala gets louder, and the prefrontal cortex gets quieter. Anger isn't something you can just turn off like a switch. It's a learned response, shaped by experiences, habits, and emotions. But here's the good news, it can be changed. Just like you can unlearn a bad habit, you can rewire your brain to respond differently. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing up day after day with more awareness and kindness toward yourself and others. How do you feel when you're caught in a moment of anger? What triggers it for you? What would it feel like if you could respond with calm instead of rage? Imagine your emotions as a roller coaster, thrilling, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying. You can't control the track, the twists, or the drops, but you can choose how you ride it. That's the power of choice. Every moment you have the ability to decide whether to scream in fear or laugh at the ride. Your brain is wired to react automatically to stimuli, but you're not bound by those reactions. You're the driver, not the passenger. Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, can override the amygdala, which triggers emotional responses. This means you have the power to pause, reflect, and choose a different reaction. When someone bothers you, it's not about changing them, it's about changing your response. Emotions are like weather, they come and go, but you can decide how to shelter yourself. The next time you feel anger rising, ask yourself, is this reaction serving me? Let this question be your anchor. By recognizing the illusion of being trapped by your emotions, you free yourself to live with intention, clarity, and peace. You are not your emotions. You are the choice you make in the face of them. When you feel your temper rising, it's easy to react before you think. But what if I told you there's a simple, powerful tool that can stop you in your tracks? It's called the 3-second rule. This technique is your mental pause button, a way to step back from the storm before it fully erupts. The moment you feel a trigger, take 3 deep breaths. This pause gives your prefrontal cortex time to step in. It's like hitting a reset button on your emotional system. Imagine your brain as a car with a manual shift. The 3-second rule is the clutch that lets you control the gears instead of letting emotions take the wheel. By taking just 3 seconds, you create space between stimulus and response. This small window of time allows you to choose how to react rather than being driven by impulse. Think of it as a mental checkpoint before you act. Ask yourself, am I reacting or responding? This simple shift in perspective can transform how you handle conflict, stress, and frustration. Try it the next time someone cuts you off in traffic or says something that gets under your skin. You'll be surprised at how much control you regain. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel anger, it's to choose how you respond. Reframing your thoughts is like rewiring your brain. Just as you can change the path of an electrical current, you can change the way your mind processes situations. At the heart of this process is the concept of thought records, a tool from cognitive behavioral therapy that helps you track and challenge negative thinking patterns. When you notice yourself getting angry or bothered by someone's actions, pause and ask, what is my automatic thought? What evidence supports or contradicts this thought? What is the consequence of holding on to it? For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic and you think, that person hates me, reframe it to something like, they're probably in a hurry or distracted. This shift doesn't mean ignoring the situation, but rather changing how you interpret it. The brain is like a muscle. It can be trained to respond differently over time. By consistently practicing reframing, you're not just avoiding conflict. You're building emotional resilience. Consider this. Your thoughts are like a lens through which you see the world. If you're constantly filtering life through anger, you're limiting your ability to grow. Instead, ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Often, the answer will be more compassionate than your inner critic. This practice isn't about being passive. Setting boundaries is like building a wall with a door, strong enough to protect your peace, yet open enough to allow genuine connection. Emotional boundaries are not about being cold or unfeeling. They're about honoring your needs and values while respecting others. Without clear boundaries, we risk letting others walk all over us, which can lead to resentment, stress, and unnecessary conflict. Neuroscience tells us that chronic anger and frustration can actually shrink the prefrontal cortex. When we're constantly triggered, we're not just reacting, we're losing our ability to respond thoughtfully. Healthy boundaries help us stay grounded in our own truth, even when others push against it. They create space for clarity, self-respect, and emotional safety. To set boundaries, start by identifying your core values and what you're willing to accept. Then, communicate them with calm confidence, using I statements to express your needs without blaming. Practice saying no without guilt and follow through consistently. Remember, boundaries are not walls that block love, they are gates that invite respect. Ask yourself, what do I need to feel safe and respected? How can I set that in motion today? Self-compassion is the gentle voice inside you that reminds you you're human, not perfect. When we're angry or frustrated, it's often because we're being too hard on ourselves. Think of your inner critic as a mean friend, always ready to point out flaws and make you feel worse. But self-compassion is like having your own best friend who shows up with kindness, understanding, and patience. This friend doesn't judge you for your mistakes, but instead sees your potential and encourages you to grow. Neuroscientific research shows that self-compassion activates the brain's reward system, helping to reduce stress and emotional reactivity. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we create a more stable emotional state, making it easier to stay calm in the face of provocation. Instead of feeding the anger with self-criticism, let self-compassion be your anchor. Start by asking yourself, would I say this to a friend? If not, try saying it to yourself. Small acts of self-kindness, like taking a deep breath, writing a note of encouragement, or simply acknowledging your feelings can shift your mindset. Remember, you're not alone in feeling frustrated. Everyone struggles with anger, but how we respond to it is what defines us. By choosing compassion over criticism, you're not just calming your mind, you're building a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. Letting go isn't about giving up, it's about choosing peace over pain. When we get angry or feel bothered by others, it's often because we're clinging to things that are beyond our control. Like holding onto a balloon that's slowly drifting away, we try to keep it close, but the wind of life keeps pulling it away. That's where acceptance comes in. Acceptance isn't weakness, It's a powerful act of self-awareness. Neuroscience shows that when we resist what we can't control, our brains release stress hormones like cortisol, which only deepen our frustration. Instead, let's shift our focus to what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, our reactions. The key is to practice non-attachment, which is not about being detached, but about being free. Imagine you're holding a balloon, and instead of gripping it tightly, you let it go with a gentle breath. That's the power of mindfulness, being present without judgment. When we stop trying to change the world around us, we open up space for inner peace. Ask yourself, what am I truly upset about? Is it someone else's behavior or my own reaction to it? By shifting the focus, we free ourselves from the weight of others' actions. Letting go is a practice, not a one-time event. Start small, notice when your mind starts to spiral, and gently bring your focus back to the present. Building resilience isn't about being immune to life's challenges. It's about learning how to weather them without losing your sense of self. Like a tree that bends in the wind but doesn't break, resilience is a skill that grows stronger with every storm you survive. It starts with awareness, recognizing when you're feeling triggered, and choosing to pause before reacting. Over time, this practice rewires your brain, creating new neural pathways that prioritize calm over conflict. I remember a friend who used to react to every criticism with anger, but after a few months of journaling and mindfulness, she began to see her reactions as signals, not directives. She learned to ask herself, what is this moment teaching me? That shift in perspective transformed her life. Resilience is built through consistency, not perfection. Small victories, like choosing to walk away from a heated conversation or staying calm during a stressful day, accumulate into lasting change. Tracking your progress can be a powerful tool. Keep a journal, note your emotional responses, and reflect on what worked. Celebrate each step forward, no matter how small. You're not just building resilience, you're crafting a more peaceful version of yourself. To recap, you are more powerful than you think. Every day, you make choices that shape your reality, and those choices begin with how you respond to the world around you. When you feel anger or are bothered by others, it's not about them. It's about how you allow their actions to affect your internal state. The brain is wired to react, but it's also wired to choose. Neuroscience tells us that the prefrontal cortex has the power to override the more primal reactions of the amygdala. This means you have the ability to pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with your values rather than your impulses. You are not just reacting to others, you are creating your own power. By recognizing your capacity to control your emotional responses, you are stepping into a space of personal mastery. You are not defined by the actions of others, but by the strength of your own inner resolve. This is not about ignoring life's challenges, but about rising above them with grace and clarity. Your power lies in your ability to choose peace, even in the face of chaos.